Boom! What's up, fam? Anthony the Dream Johnson here today, president of the Manosphere, co-founder of the Redman Group, CEO of 21 Studios, founder of the 21 Convention, the 22 Convention, 21 University, the Under 21 Convention, the Patriarch Convention, and 10,000 other things on the internet I keep doing year after year after year. Speaking of 21 Convention, before we get into today's show, episode 147 of the Redman Group, the cancer of cancel culture. I said that right. So many cancers and canceling, all that bullshit. We have a sponsor today, which is my company, one of them. That is the 21 Convention being held, put on by 21 Studios, filmed by 21 Studios. It's our 15-year anniversary this year of the 21 Convention and 21 Studios itself. And we have 3 events going on at the same time. It's under one giant 21 Summit kind of umbrella conference. And it's got 3 conventions inside of it. It's got the Patriarch Convention for fathers, the 21 Convention legendary event for men, and of course, the infamous 22 Convention to make women great again. This one's for fathers, but men can attend as well. This one's for men. Fathers can attend, of course. And this one here is exclusively for women. The guests on today's show will be at the events, depending on which conference you're going to. And here on the left, you see Michael Foster. He's on today's show in a minute. Elliot Hulse here on the right. Tickets are right here, going up in a few days. Lots of speakers, lots of cool stuff. Check it out. We are rebuilding the patriarchy here at the Patriarch Convention. At the 21 Convention main event, you see Richard Grandin there and Jack Donovan on the right. Ticket prices are also going up soon. And we have some amazing speakers with that, including John Anthony and Alex from Playing with Fire, who are also on today's show, and Michael Foster, and Jesse Lee Peterson and Richard Grandin, Ian Smith, Jack Donovan, Coach Greg Adams, Ivan Throne, Jay Vincent, John Samez, Pat Stebbins, Steve Brule, Dr. Sean T. Smith, AJ Cortez, Socrates, Steve the Dean Williams, Arthur Quanley, Will Spencer. It actually gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's pretty amazing. And of course, if you are a lady watching this event or the show today, you're probably not, but you might be. We have the 22 Convention also at the event, and that's exclusively for the women, the females. You need to have 2X chromosomes to attend this conference. And I'll be speaking there along with Michael Foster. He's my personal favorite this year. He's like my homie. Janice Fiamengo, lots of speakers here. Jay Vincent, Melissa Isaac. She's actually an attorney, and she's pretty awesome, pretty savage. Noah Ravoy, Pat Stedman, Jennifer Molesky. You guys probably know her. Ken Curry. He's a licensed marriage and family therapist. Very badass dude. AJ Cortez, a.k.a. Chad Zilla, Socrates, and all that. Anyway, it's going to be amazing. 15-year anniversary at 21 Summit. Get your tickets now at the 21convention.org. Links in the description. And you can also buy tickets through speakers, and they'll hook you up with tickets as well, links and all that. Anyway, without further ado, end commercial break. And welcome to the show, Mr. Michael Foster, Mr. John Anthony. He pulls in here. Oh, there he is. And Alex from Playing with Fire. What's up, boys?
What up, what up, what up? What's going on?
How's it going?
Can I go to the 22 Convention if I identify as a woman? You
cannot. You will not be. I mean, I might let you in for a few minutes, but yeah, you cannot. You cannot have a Y chromosome.
Yikes.
I only believe in the 2-gender system. It's a pretty good classical system of understanding human beings. I like it a lot. It's pretty sweet. Anyway, how you guys doing?
We can't bring our chicks in. If we bring a chick, we can't bring her in to the talk.
Yeah, you can bring a chick. You mean to the 21 Convention? You can bring a chick. Yeah, she has to be chaperoned by you. We don't allow female. We don't allow females to roam around aimlessly. Of course, they got to be chaperoned and taken care of by a man. Anyway, how you guys been? Let's check in here. I haven't talked to you guys in a little while. What's new in life? What's new in work? What's going on?
Yeah, not much. I just got, I guess this is a topic of discussion. I got my Instagram temporarily canceled, hoping to get it back soon. As a result of a little internet feud I got into with a certain feminist.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, we can dive into that. That's been a whole thing. But other than that, not much. Just been growing, focusing on the channel, putting out content. The TikTok hit 50K. It's a little stepping stone.
Nice. I'm actually going to pull up your channel, and we'll pull up the that video later, too. I heard about that. You told me about that. Yeah, here's your channel. 66,000 subs, man. Good stuff.
Growing one sub at a time.
Yeah, man. John, what's new with you, man? How you doing?
Good. I announced that I'm suing Modern Life Dating. Can't discuss it, but a good step forward.
You put a little video out on that, right? People can learn the basics about it.
Yeah, I just read the civil complaint that I filed in Florida.
Okay. Nice, man. Yeah, modern life dating's a huge douchebag. I'm really happy you're doing that. It's a good thing. Michael, how you doing, man? How's life been up there in Ohio?
It's busy. It's busy. I just we got my books done. It's with the publisher, so they're doing all the typesetting and getting ready for the marketing of the book. And then I have to. They asked me to do the audible version, so I have to do that. I've never done that before, and that's going to take like 15 hours. That's good. The church continues to grow, so we're just trying to, like, about 7 months old and 175 people. 0 to 175. That's average church in America is like 75 people.
Wow.
So it's grew faster than we were prepared for. So working a lot of long days right now, and I work in the electrical industry, and I work a lot with Bitcoin miners. And so that's been a little bonkers because it's blowing up right now, and it's keeping me busy. So exciting times, great times, but glad to be out of the city. Glad to be on a farm right now. Glad to have 3 deep freezers full of meat, several guns. So,
yeah, a lot of children and stuff to train and all that stuff.
That's right, to point them.
Yeah, that's right. Fuck yeah, man. Yeah, that's so you live really rural now, right? Basically on a farm, you said.
I do. Yeah, I live right in Hyde Park, Cincinnati for a while, right off Hyde Park Square, which is a really kind of a yuppie, uppity part of the town, very expensive. My father-in-law had a house there that we were staying in while we were trying to find the farm. And so we went from there to 30 miles outside of the metro area. And it's great. We love it. We love to. I grew up in small town America, not far from actually where John Mellencamp is. So that small town song of his always resonates. But yeah, it's good to be out here. I think this is the future for a while. I think a lot of people will flee the cities, and it's kind of been a weird thing that's happened as all the rich white folk move into the city, they push the poor people out into the suburbs. So the edge of the suburbs became slumburbia, right? And so now you've kind of got these different rings that have formed around a city. In the core of the city, it's upscale, a lot of money, though that has been impacted by the pandemic. From what I understand, 40% of restaurants have closed in NYC, probably never going to open again. But then you go right outside, used to be kind of the nice suburbs, but they're kind of running down. They've kind of gone the way of malls, I think some of you guys are old enough to remember when malls were like cool and booming, and now they're all abandoned. Well, that's happening to the suburbs. So I think people are recognizing that you can go to these small satellite towns that are close to a thriving economy with an airport and a good highway system, and you can get the economy, but also have some shielding from the crime, the Black Lives Matters march. We had a Black Lives Matters march come right through our front door, or right in front of it. And my one son, Athanasius, grabbed a shotgun, and then the other one was calling the police officers. And I was like, whoa, first off, those are 2 different types of responses.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, let's not shoot them and don't call the police. It's going to be okay. So we don't have that anymore. We just got a lot of combines and things like that passing. So that's good.
What's interesting to me is that Elliot Hulse did the same thing almost at the same time. That's coincidental, I think, the timing. But he moved from the west coast of Florida near a major city like St. Pete, Tampa. And he had a dope house. I mean, he posted pictures of it all the time. He had like solar panels all over, like all this cool shit. Yep. And now he moved to bumblefuck Central Florida, not far from me, actually, but much more rural than where I'm at. And he has a huge, like 30 acres or 48, something crazy. He has Elliot Hulse owns a lake now, like a real lake with like fish and alligators and shit.
Nice.
And he's going to get cows or something and sell honey. He has to sell stuff by the state of Florida. He said if he doesn't sell something from his farm, like anything, he'll have to pay $25,000 extra a year in property tax. Extra. Never mind like whatever the regular rates are. It's like crazy.
Yeah, we've got chickens, the rabbits come in a couple weeks, and the pigs come next spring. So
nice.
Yeah, he's gonna start posting videos of him working out with like farm animals and like touching a cow and shit.
Well, yeah, he bought it as well for his business. He can run like workshops. His property is so massive, dude. He has a house, he has a barn, and then like a third building, and then a lake, and like he has so much space. He can run his grounding camps or whatever program he cooks up next. He kind of runs like 21 conventions, but they're always like much more outdoors focused. if that makes sense. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I went to one of them up in New York actually before the world ended last year, and it was pretty cool. It was different than 21, obviously, much more like physical and stuff, like lifting rocks and fighting and shit, and like active meditation. But it was a very similar vibe. A lot of the same dudes, a lot of attendees from 21 convention were there actually, which was kind of surprising and stuff. But yeah, anyway, Elliot moved to the middle of nowhere, not just for the business, but because he thinks like, shit's gonna hit the fan in this country at some point soon. And I think a lot of people think that are analyzing, politics and COVID and all these lockdowns, all this insane Orwellian crap that we're dealing with now at light speed. So kudos, man. I hope to do the same thing and probably move near Elliot actually next year.
I do gotta say, different strokes for different pokes, because I could never imagine living in the country. Like, I live in the center of Miami, and I'm like, really happy. I've lived in the city for like, as long as pretty much I've been an adult. I just personally cannot imagine that. But again, like different strokes for different pokes.
Yeah, and we'll see how things develop. I mean, if shit never hits the fan, then you're just living on a farm, which is some people are doing that. Yeah, but if shit starts burning down and this country becomes like a third world country, then cities are not going to be fun, my opinion. But we'll see. Anyway, I want to talk today about cancel culture. All of us have been through this to various degrees. People have tried to cancel us, mostly not succeeded, but in some cases have succeeded in booting off platforms. Alex, you mentioned that you lost your Instagram the other day, which is a big part of your business, because you got mass reported and harassed basically by some feminist brat, basically. Let me actually pull up the. So let's start with you, and then actually I'll go into my thing that happened just the other day too. Which one is it? This one, Ask Nelly?
Yeah, the Ask Nelly one. Okay, basically what happened was I had this girl on for a podcast. It was very respectful. We disagreed on some things. She believes that a man should have to pay for a drink on the first date, and if he doesn't, then he is less of a man. I made the argument that I personally always, buy the first round on the date, and I have no problem paying, but I don't think a man should be stigmatized if he feels the need to split the bill. And, we had a amicable debate about it. And then at the end, I told my followers to, check out her channel, to support her, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was the end of it. And then over the next few days, I started getting a lot of nasty messages, just like very nasty stuff. I mean, I'm going to put out a video response to my haters, but just like, you're a miserable human being. You have no respect for women. What would your mom think of you? Like, oh, yeah, mom. Like, guess what? I think that, a man should not be shamed for not being treated like an ATM.
Does she identify as a feminist too? Like, did you know that beforehand?
No. I severely doubt she does. I didn't ask her that question, but I would bet any amount of money that she doesn't.
Okay. Damn, look at this dude. Shit's gone, man. This page is not available. Oof.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get it back. I made a very strong appeal, and I'm gonna keep trying to get it back. Okay. But so then getting very nasty messages. My girls start getting nasty messages, which it's ironic because they're all about like girl power, but like messaging my girl who's not involved in this at all, telling her that this
is all over a drink. That
was over like basically it was over the debate. Yeah.
Wow.
That's fucking dumb.
Yeah. And so then I discovered that she was actually just going after me on her stories. And I didn't know about this because she had blocked me from seeing her stories. So I didn't see it on my end. I just thought like her fans were acting crazy, which I won't hold a content creator responsible for how their fans act. Like if we do a podcast here and your fans send me shit, like I won't blame you, right? That's not your responsibility.
Yeah,
but it is your responsibility if you're directly provoking that by talking shit about me. So she was just saying a lot of not true shit. She was making herself out to be like a hardcore victim, making it seem like, and we screen record all this, so we have this, that she was basically like forced to come on my podcast, like low key, that, she felt obligated. She had no choice. She didn't really, like it. She was very uncomfortable when in reality, right after the podcast, she texted me, "Thank you for having me on. What's the link so I can share?"
Yeah, she doesn't look like she's being forced to remotely appear on a podcast at all. Like she's just sitting here. John, would you call her potato head or something?
Yeah, I might have said that. No, not.
I just want to be very careful. I don't want to insult her personally because they're just going to take that argument and they're just
my Instagram was
already everything else I say and just so I want to keep this very like factual just in regards to this.
Well, what do you think her motivations were? Do you have any
Oh,
thoughts
I
on
have
that?
I have a good idea. So what I'm confident that this is what happened. So initially, so I think this woman, she's like most, YouTubers, marketers, whatever. She's primarily money marketing focused, right? That's very common. And so I think initially she had no problem with the podcast. She was like, okay, yeah, this will give me some, attention, blah, blah, blah. This will hopefully help me grow my business, which is normal, right? Then she posted, parts of the clip to her wall, and then her followers turned on her and they were like, this guy's a nasty pickup man. And why are you doing, stuff with him?
Wow.
You shouldn't be talking to someone like him. He doesn't get it. He's not down for the cause. And instead of like doing the right thing and saying, well, yo, girls, like, hang on a second. Like, this guy's actually pretty respectful towards me. He just has a different opinion. Like, let's respect his opinion. It was, yeah, you're right. And then she just played victim instead of just like, owning up that, she decided to have a conversation with someone
Oh, dude, it's already yours, the universe. Are you
who
kidding me?
thinks radically different than her.
What is she?
You know?
What is she? It sounds like Scarface or something. What is this? This is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of the advice she gives is pretty toxic. Like they accuse me of having toxic advice, but a lot of like, the stuff that she recommends, like playing power games and like all this weird shit.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, this chick's nuts, dude. My opinion.
I had my Instagram banned like 2 years ago. So I was posting receipts on every close. I had like 300 girls in a row posted with their faces blurred after like hookup situations. And I was at a conference in Poland. I was talking to like 300 guys, and I was bashing on RST Tyler like I like to do so often. And right after I had ripped him apart, I was like, by the way, guys, make sure you subscribe to my Instagram. And a lot of the audience was RST Tyler fans. These people get like cult followings, and the Instagram went down during the talk. People just mass reported it during the talk.
Wow.
Like literally towards the end of the talk, people were like, "This page doesn't exist," and I was like, "Great." So and they did the same shit to my old Facebook group that had tons of value. Basically, I put out a whole post ripping on all the RST guys, and then shortly after the group was gone. So
let's talk about that though, because that's a big deal for you. That was a major part of your business. How many thousands of members were in the Facebook group? Because I was in that group too a long time ago, back in like 2015 or 16 or something.
It was only like 3 or 4K. Most of these groups only get to like 3 or 4K, but it's still decent for a Facebook group. It was extremely active, and I used to post a ton and put tons of value posts out there, and it's very demoralizing when you lose because it just goes poof overnight.
Yeah.
And the same with Alex, he puts out a lot of good value stuff too. So when you're actually a legit business in this space, putting out really good value, and then someone just comes in and nukes it all, that can be pretty frustrating. So I didn't even bother rebuilding I have a 3,000 group now, but it's like completely dead on Facebook.
Damn. Yeah, it sucks, man. Michael, let's talk about your experience with cancel culture. You've had feminists come after you for posts about single moms, tweets and stuff. They try to get you fired from your 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I get death threats all the time. I get people sending messages to my wife saying, hey, look, we know you're stuck in an oppressive patriarchal marriage. We'll help you, we'll help you get to a safe place. And my wife like always messages back, LOL. Like, we're happy. We have a wonderful marriage, and it annoys her. She gets, women are meaner than men, so I'm like, look, don't go after them hard. It's not worth it. But yeah, they I have to be really careful what sort of pictures of my house I can post and things like that. You know what I mean? Just to make it hard. It's not that I can, anyone can kind of be found. If you have profile online, eventually people are able to connect some dots. I mean, you remember when Shia LaBeouf was trying to hide that stuff from 4chan? Yeah. Yep. They're like tracking like plane.
Oh yeah.
It was hilarious, and that just shows you, like, if people are motivated, I mean, and you have enough footprint, they can find you. But no need to make it easy, right?
Yeah.
No need to leave the door open at night, right? So we've had to take a lot of precautions with that, with where we live, and people send a lot of nasty messages to the church Facebook page or the email, which I just have routed to my email anyway. And be like, well, we'll talk to them about that. We agree. We're concerned too, totally bait them. I think it's funny.
An approach you might try. Like, I was getting death threats from various sources, and I put them all up in a YouTube video. And they were coming pretty frequently. And after that YouTube video, I didn't receive one more. I said, these have been sent to the FBI. You want to fuck around, we'll find you and fucking arrest you. And then nobody ever did it again.
They came really hard after I did this post on just how a lot of Christian guys get suckered into single mother relationships that they should not. And I'm not against a guy marrying a single mother. It's just, it's not the same thing as marrying someone that doesn't have a kid, right? It means you're entering into a relationship, not just with the woman, but with the kid and the kid's father as well, to some extent. Yeah. And so you need to be very thoughtful about getting in that. And also you have to ask, like, she'll always prioritize that kid to some degree more than you. It's just, she's a woman. It's natural for her to protect her children. That's what they do. And so you're gonna have to count the cost. And a lot of guys kind of come in as these white knights trying to save the situation. And
Michael, if I can interrupt you, is it true that a lot of churches encourage men in their 30s and 40s to marry single moms? I've heard people like Coach Greg Adams that say this.
Yeah.
That happens,
they absolutely do. What happens is, so it's kind of it's a vicious cycle. So the fact is that most evangelical Christian men are this effeminate and weak, right? And so these girls are actually willing to marry, I think, early on. But the guys that they have in the church to pick from, they'll go on dates with them. These guys are nice guys, kind of weak guys, and it drives the women away, right? So the women, like, they turn back and get into their career a little bit more, and then hormones start really raging mid to late 20s, and then they'll go outside of the church and they'll end up hooking up with non-Christian guys, right? Kind of alpha, Chad, whatever you want to call them, and then they'll feel guilty, as they should, but then they'll get pregnant, and the guy, they try to get their hooks into the guy, but that's not what he was into. That's not what he was about. And then they end up back in the church now. And then they finally settle on a nice guy, and it's a very difficult marriage, right? And so there's a lot of things going wrong there. Like, guys like hate on women for that. At the same time, like, they're looking for a strong masculine man. They're having a hard time finding them in the church. So you understand what she wants. It's like guys. Why
do you think the guys in the church are weak and effeminate?
There is a lot of factors to it. Some of them going all the way back to the 12th century. But the easiest way to get to it is that during the Romantic period, there was this idea that women were somehow more clean and angelic than men were. So you go before the Romantic period, so 1600s and back, you're never going to see women as angels, like depicted in paintings. Angels are men. They're masculine. They kill things, right? They're monsters with tons of eyes, scary, right? And so this idea is women as these like angelic, perfect, they sin less. And then the feminine becomes associated with Jesus, right? Or holy living. To be holy is to be more like women, because women are more pure. So then these guys are coming to church and they're being told to feel ashamed for having ambition and drive and aggression and all these things. They're just natural desires that they could be bad, they could be evil, but they also, if you point them in the right direction. I mean, the only thing that protects the society from dangerous men is dangerous men. You want guys to build great things. Well, don't tell them to douse their ambition, but do it for a godly, worthwhile cause and aim it. So they're making men feel ashamed of their masculine desires, or because they don't want to open up. Like, I always tell people that men's ministries in church is women's ministries with bacon. That's all it is, right? They put these guys in a bunch of circles and say, hey, how do you feel about what God's doing in your life right now? And like, I don't really want to talk about my feelings, man. Like, guys do want to talk about their feelings, but they talk about it as they're like working, as they're building something on their project. Like, hey, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my relationship, or been thinking about my dad's about to die. We got some unresolved stuff. That stuff comes out while you're doing stuff together as men, not in a circle, kumbaya, sharing stuff. Like, that's how women talk. So what's happened is the church has raised women up as if they're more holy than men, and they're not. Women do terrible stuff, right? And that's where you get this with these guys, these sort of white knight guys that get red-pilled, and they start to realize, like, whoa, women do some nutty stuff, right? Like, the reason she dropped the 30 pounds is she's getting ready to divorce you, right? You see that. Anytime I see anyone, any guy or woman, go through a massive transformation and their spouse doesn't follow them, like, soon, like, my eye is on them as a pastor. Like, hey, so how's the marriage going? And, oh, everything's great. And then, of course, because women in particular prep. They prep for divorce in a way that a lot of guys don't. So I think there's just a lot of ideas about women being more holy, and then to be spiritual is the kind of take on this feminine posture. Femininity is wonderful in a woman, repulsive in a man. So to say a man's being effeminate isn't to degrade women. It's to say that men should act like men. Effeminacy is it's gross. It's a cat that barks, a dog that meows. It's nature twisted. It's repulsive, right? And so the church has become like that. And now the church is androgynous, where it really thinks that men and women are interchangeable. And one reason you have so many sexless marriages in Christianity is the very thing that drives arousal and attraction is sexual differences, right? Women like masculine men, no matter what they say, right? They like masculine men, and they're looking for them, and men like feminine women. But men are much more willing to settle down than women are, because men want to get to it. They want to build a household. They want to get things done. And so guys have much more flexible beauty standards than most women do, especially today, where they've been poisoned by social media.
Women have been fed like an endless stream of propaganda to never settle, never settle, never settle. And men don't get that at all, right? Men get the opposite. You know, why
That's
are you not, what is it? Man up and marry that slut, all that kind of stuff.
You know what's interesting? Like just to interject real quick, like I was raised like hardcore Catholic, like no swearing. You wait till marriage to have sex. You know, my parents never like drank or did drugs or anything. They waited till marriage to have sex. And I was that super nice guy. And I discovered a lot of Nietzsche in college. And his big criticism with Christianity was the whole master-slave morality, and how a lot of things in Christianity are like to be meek and powerless and all this stuff is considered like a virtue. And Nietzsche said that's all backwards. And I think that's part of the problem too, is these men are kind of taught to like, you know, not be alpha in the sense, not stand up for themselves, etc. You know, turn the other cheek, all these kinds of like weak behaviors. And all that's kind of like pussy repellent. I think
they also don't even understand what a lot of like when Jesus says turn the other cheek, it's an idiom, right? That means when someone insults you, roll with it. And that's actually frame, right? When people try to like get you into throwing insults back and forth, that's kind of feminine stuff. You get suckered into that really easy. There's a time to like stand your ground, right? There's also a time like, whatever, dude. You know, like people like try to insult you. If that immediately gets your emotions going and you can't laugh some of those things off, then you're just weak. So when Jesus is saying turn the other cheek, he's not saying take a butt whooping. He's saying like don't get suckered into all that stuff. And so a lot of them don't even understand the Greek, the Hebrew. They don't understand it in context. Yeah. You know, Nietzsche's problem was his dad was a Christian. His dad was very, very weak. I think Nietzsche was dealing with father issues, and I think his desire for the Ubermensch, the Uberman, was him trying to work out like, I don't want to be like a weak person like my father was, and he associated it with the Christianity of that time, and you get that, right? And so much of our life is either trying to be like our dad or trying not to be like our dad, and we can get in these reactionary modes, and you just watch this work out right now. The whole manosphere is full of a bunch of guys that are like, give me a father, give me someone I can copy and model. And they're being given like these really pathetic, weak examples, and guys that just keep them in ditches, man. Keep them in ditches. Like good red pill's like semester. It's not a degree.
I think you have a good point. I've had there's some clients I have that like they don't even really want coaching advice. They just want me to be like a father figure to them for an hour. Have you picked up on that, John? Like just guys like they don't really even have that many questions. They just want like I don't know, you would be like a father for like an hour
or a psychologist. But no, I mean, a lot of guys want to like fit in and stuff too. What I've realized over like a decade of coaching these guys is like, they want to get better with girls, but they also want other men to respect them. They want to have they want to fit in. They want to be like part of the in crowd. They don't want to be like watching on the sidelines of all these other guys. I pulled
up a few examples for you guys, by the way, here. A new artwork came out from our artists yesterday. I thought it was pretty cool.
Super gross.
There's Rollo McDonald there out the window.
So I was talking to Bobby Dino the other night.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And, Bobby was doing some consultant coaching sort of stuff, right? And I briefly did that before I got back into the ministry. Now, if you want coaching, just come to my church. Otherwise, I don't have time for it. But and that's free, by the way. But the problem is with a lot of these coaching relationships is all the guys want to, I think it was you that said this, John Anthony, is that they really just want your affirmation. And it's weird. They'll ask you like, here's what I did. And when you criticize it, they get really defensive, right? And you're like, look, man, I'm a coach. I'm here. I'm like, but they just want you to say, I'm a good boy, right? They're like looking for you to pat them on their back. And that's when you start to realize like, oh man, I'm not a therapist. I'm not into these long, never-ending relationships. You want to step in and help them for a couple hours and point them in the right direction, but they don't really need a strategy as much as they need. It's like a therapist. It's like, and there's some guys in the manosphere that are cool with doing that because they want to profit off them forever and ever and ever. And keeping them in that sort of relationship is very profitable to them. It's very toxic.
Mark, we were talking about that earlier. This Derek Moneyberg guy, John has been doing videos on him for a while, and I looked into it a little bit, but not too deep. I was like, oh, another fraud. Like, what else is fucking new in this community, right? But I looked into him more the other day on his Instagram because he's buying subscribers. He gained like 400,000 followers on Instagram in like a day. So obviously it's fake. But you can see the spikes. It's absurd, right? But this guy is like such a mega fraud. I really underestimated how much of a fraud he is, and he's doing all the things he's talked about, Michael. Just like it's this whole loop of like endless bullshit. You never get anywhere. Apparently, he even designs his courses to keep guys confused. Like basically to confuse them, so he confuses them to create new problems to solve them with more upsells.
I interviewed the guy that created his courses, and he said, and we got to be careful here because he's taking on lawsuits against people that talk shit. So without slandering him, this came directly from the mouth of the creators of his course. They said that he gave the directive to purposely overwhelm and confuse, and then the homework and the different assignments are meant to just create problems that didn't exist that the upsells will solve. Yep. In the live trainings in the clubs where there's like 40 guys trying to learn dating training, the coaches are just sales guys who are just telling them, okay, like on this program, we'll get you over some approaching stuff. You're going to need like 2 more programs to really solve the problem. So the whole point of the program isn't to teach them anything. It's to sell 2 more programs.
Yep.
And he told the guys, there's like 5 different 5K programs and a 25K year-long program. So they're just trying to extract 50K out of each guy.
Yep.
And that's the whole goal. And then they're signing them up for credit cards and loans that they know they can't afford, getting them to max out all those offers. And a lot of guys have been reporting they're having actual mental breakdowns.
This is actually really common too in the POA industry. I knew guys back in like 2013, 2014. Their sales guys were specifically even told me they would like you're saying get credit cards and loans out of these guys, like actually on the phone walk them through this, like getting a new credit card or something to pay for a coaching.
Predatory lending. Yeah,
it's sick. It's insane. Like I was like, whoa.
These are guys that are like impressionable and in need of help, and they're just being exploited on a massive scale.
Yep.
I mean, the whole goal of doing things is to feel good and to feel happy. Even if I was a multimillionaire, I don't think I could feel good about myself if I like knew I was fucking people over, especially if it's like a lot of people.
These people are sick though, man. It's
like a complete lack of like ethics.
Yeah, their values are vastly different. Like they really don't give a fuck. That Derek Moneyberg guy, the minute I looked around his Instagram, I was like amazed at how fat he was and like just like really gross fat. And then his hair was he looked greasy, like, and he wore purple shoes and these stupid fucking it was a level of projection I've never seen, even out of guys like Donovan Sharp and the Fraud Father. Like this guy is like a massive projection bullshit. It like he had a picture in front of like a rented Bentley or something, wearing like a panda shirt and purple shoes, and he's like, stop trying to project that you have money and actually like, and make sure you actually have wealth or something. It's just total nonsense. Like,
well, and to get to the subject of the show, so I don't want to not allow that guy to have a platform. I just want everyone to know the truth.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, the issue is there's a difference. It's like, let's just tell people what's really going on here. The problem isn't to deplatform these guys. Like the truth should deplatform it. You know what I mean? And the reality though is in a cancel culture, what they don't want to get out is the truth.
That's right.
And what we like that no, these guys, this is a legit grift. There's actual coaching that brings value, that helps people get somewhere, that a laborer is worthy of his wages, the stuff you're doing, but and then there's other stuff where no, this is not what you were sold. It was deceptive. And actually, no, they're messing with you. And so the goal is not to, when you're criticizing an opponent or whatever, the goal is to criticize their claims, their character. If their character is related to it, people will say ad hominem is a fallacy. Ad hominem is only a logical fallacy where if someone, like, for example, if David, or what's the cannibal guy? Remember the cannibal serial killer that died? I can't think of his name.
Jeffrey Dahmer or something?
Jeffrey Dahmer. If Jeffrey Dahmer says it's wrong to steal, you can't say, well, that's not true. You eat people, right? That's ad hominem, right? Like, just because a cannibal says it's that, but if someone's making a claim like, oh, you can trust me, when you say, well, actually, you've screwed over 5 or 6 people. Oh, that's ad hominem. Well, trust is the issue here, right? Like, trust, character is the issue. So ad hominem is only when you're trying to, like, disprove a logical proposition. If someone's character is tied to the issue, then it's very much at the front. And so when we're trying to actually bring up the argument and show that this is not true, this isn't conducive to a good life, it doesn't comport to reality, it's incoherent, your character, you're saying that people can buy these things from you, but actually you have a long history of fraudulent behavior, and therefore that's relevant because this is people asking to trust you. That's not cancel culture. That's truth culture. Let the truth come out, right? But cancel culture is where you...
If the truth shall kill them, let them die. Apparently, this is not from Immanuel Kant, a philosopher from the 70s, I think. Apparently it's from Ayn Rand, paraphrasing, or trying to criticize Immanuel Kant. Although she would definitely support this. I mean, this is a very Randian quote. That's the first thing I thought when I read it. So, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, totally. Truth culture, I love that. Truth culture is good. We need to get that going.
And so cancel culture is where you try to silence someone from making an argument or defending the argument or explaining the argument. It is a feminine disposition. It's a form of feminine bullying, right? So the way what a woman will do. So you asked how I've dealt with this in the church. So what women are meaner than men. Us guys, like, I don't know how many times have you got in an actual physical altercation with a good guy friend, and after are totally friends, like minutes after. Me and 2 of my friends, we got in a big fight one night. It was like a play fight, and it just got out of control, and we all 3 ended up in the hospital. So I got my throat cut open, and when they did that, so I kicked the other guy in his balls as hard as I could, because, like, don't cut my throat open. And then one pinned me down and beat my arm, so my arm was in a sling.
Was there knives involved?
We went to the hospital, and we came back, and we all had a beer together afterwards. It was back in high school. And once women, I learned this about women when we were trying to settle on a girl name for our daughters. And I was like, what do you think about Ashley or this name? And Em's like, no, I don't like that name because there was this girl that I didn't like in school. I don't remember you having a problem with the girl. Well, it was back in grade school. Grade school? Like, you still care about that crap? Yes, they do. Women hold grudges. Women, when they get in fights, they fight to destroy. And the way they do it is destroying someone's reputation, right? They'll say, look, I heard that she was sleeping around with all these guys. Doesn't even matter if it's true, right? They'll just say that. They'll just spread gossip and slander. Well, that's very similar in cancel culture. So the other day, this woman said that I had gotten, I left my former denomination to join a new one because I was fleeing discipline. In other words, I was about to be excommunicated or something, right? And I was like, where did you hear that from? Because here's my letter of transfer where they said, hey, we love you. Thanks for being part of it. Did a good job. And so it totally just disproves it's not true. She was making it up. And so this is a way that women deal with things. They destroy someone's reputation and based on lies and slander. So that's cancel culture. That's right. But cancel culture is the same thing. It's an attack on someone's reputation. It's not dealing with truth. It's not dealing with actual truth claims or character claims that are related to those truth claims. It's simply, I don't like how you make me feel. I think you're a bad person. Like, for example, I've got a lot of people coming after me trying to say that I'm into BDSM because I spoke at 21 and Tex was there.
A speaker speaks on this, yeah.
And I was like, there was Mormons there.
Why would that even be bad?
Well, I'm not, but the thing is, it's neither here nor there. The thing is, just because you stand on a stage with somebody, Tanner Guzzi's Mormon, I'm not. There's atheist agnostics there. I'm not a fitness coach, like just because I'm on a stage with a fitness, it doesn't mean, you know what I mean? And so it's guilt by association. Yep. And this is all case. Oh, well, I heard that guy once went to this place. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. So the point is, with it has nothing to do with truth. It is a way to destroy someone's reputation, guilt by association, innuendo, slander, gossip, half truth, right? That's at the heart of it. And that's when we're trying to take on grifters or expose false teachers. We're trying to get more information out there and have the conversation, as opposed to truncate the information and bring the conversation to a sudden end.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think anytime you have to silence someone, you're in the wrong. I think cancel culture is really about protecting yourself from experiencing inner self-reflection. Like you don't want to hear things that make you question your assumptions, so you're going to cancel them.
Yeah, they want to shut you down so they don't have to face any of their own bullshit. They can just keep it all under the rug. I really love that concept of truth culture. It's a good counter to cancel culture. We need a truth culture. I love that. That's what the Manosphere needs too, of course, obviously, and I've been working on that this year with a lot of you. And it's pretty good stuff, bashing these frauds and exposing them.
I put out like 40 expose and roast videos. Yeah. And in response, multiple people have slandered me. That's how they're fighting back, is just making up full fabrications. Yeah. And littering Reddit with just a whole bunch of nonsense with fake reviews. Oh, I took his program, like lie, 1 through 20. Just total BS. And then we found out, I had people dig into this. People are putting paid SEO campaigns ranking that stuff, so that when my name is searched, all the fucking lies come up. And
they also make videos pretending to kill you and stuff. Bag you over the head and kill you and suffocate you. That was me and you both in that. Even George Bruno was in that.
That's still the gayest video I've ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen something as dumb as that video. What was amazing about it? It had really great production value.
It really did.
And then I was like, is this guy for real? And he's
referring to himself as a supreme leader, like Kim Jong-un.
No, that guy's really disturbed. He's like definitely a child stalker, and definitely some hints of potential pedophilia in the future, incest stuff. Pat Stebbin told me there's an old blog post, I'm trying to find it, where MLD Hogwood, the Pigwood, he actually was talking about how hot his mom was, and it was very like incest kind of focused stuff. It was weird. Yeah, this was back not that long ago, like 2016 or something like that. He took it down years ago, I guess, because it was obviously getting some hate. But some really weird shit. And he still to this day talks about his mother a lot and stuff, and it's like really weird. And he was raised by a single mom, so I'm not saying he's like banging his mom or anything. I kind of doubt that. And I'm not even claiming the mother.
He doesn't have the game for that.
Yeah. Oh my god.
No, man, guys.
What?
Don't pull me into this.
Yeah. Whoa. But no, I mean, that guy, he screams. He has to be the most fucked up weirdo in the Manosphere by far.
I would agree with that.
There's bigger frauds by far. The Sharp Mama, the Fraud Father, but Pigwood is like a real creeper, a real weirdo.
It's a strange guy, no doubt.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to get into actually talking about myself here and get my narcissism on. So I was for the first time in my life, I was removed from a large conference of over 1,000 people. That was supposed to be for libertarians and conservatives and stuff. And it's supposed to be linked to actually Ron Paul, one of my heroes. I think one of the greatest Americans to live in recent history by far. He's a Ron Paul fan. He's a congressman for over like 30 years. Son, of course, sitting U.S. Senator. Rand Paul out of Kentucky. Ron Paul ran for president in 1988 under the Libertarian Party. Really badass stuff. I mean, there's commercials of Ron Paul in 1988 promoting automatic weapons. We need to abolish the ATF. Like really cool shit that's very much in line with what I believe about the founding fathers and politics and stuff, like real freedom. And then he ran again in 2008, 2012, kind of like a Trump-style campaign, break the establishment and all that. And he didn't win, unlike Trump, but he did good, promoting good ideas. I love Ron Paul. And anyway, this organization called Young Americans for Liberty, it was actually started in 2008 as students for Ron Paul. And as time went on, they eventually organized it into a nonprofit, 501c3, whatever the fuck. And they called it Young Americans for Liberty. And in many ways, they're associated with Ron Paul. They carry on in his name. Ron Paul is the headline speaker today, I think, in Orlando, Florida, about 40 minutes from me right now at this event. And so I bought a ticket to this event, and everything was fine. I bought it in like May. And I applied for a press pass, but they never got back to me, which is common with events this big. You have all kinds of people, you know, it's just crazy with that many attendees, right? Anyway, I went to this event, and basically they ended up kicking me out. They not only kicked me out, they revoked my ticket like over a month ago and never told me. And the exact reason this guy told me to my face with a witness too, I had a guy with me, was my online brand doesn't fit their event. And this is bullshit.
I've got a similar story that turned out. I don't want to cut you off, but
hang on. Let me finish the story. This gets better.
Mm-hmm.
So I got kicked out of this. This is an event that's supposed to be like very much for American values, American freedom, constitutional rights, free speech. Ron Paul is one of the original, you know, victims, so to speak, of cancel culture. In 2008 and 2012, the media went after him with the same intensity that you see them go after someone like Trump, and try to cancel him, try to blacklist him from even running for president, even though he was a medical doctor, an Air Force veteran, a sitting congressman for like decades and decades, right? Had a real hardcore grassroots following, real enthusiasm and momentum. Even his competitors, like Mitt Romney, would comment publicly, like his supporters were so strong, like Trump. Like he had a real hardcore fan following, guys like me, that supported him. Anyway, I've been a fan of Ron Paul since, like, you know, way back in the day, and to get kicked out of an event where I should have been given a press pass, really. My friends got a press pass to it that I go to these events with. I get a press pass myself, like CNN, the same kind of media pass when I go to CPAC, other major events. And these fucking people, and so I think what happened was basically someone's girlfriend discovered that I was attending this event through the press pass application or who knows what. And they actually went so far as to not just deny that, they revoked my fucking ticket and didn't even tell me. So I went to the event, I checked in, everything's fine, but they don't have a name badge because they revoked my ticket. This chick checks me in, I'm there for like 2 hours, and they eventually end up kicking me out. And I'm just kind of shocked, man. Like, it really, to be canceled by this was just so nuts, dude. There's a little more too, actually. I want to pull up for you guys.
What was the kick out process like? Like, what did they say to you?
It was just long. It took it was weird. So it took over 30 minutes, I would say. Because like I was there and I checked in like anyone else, but it was weird because they didn't have a name badge. And the chick was confused. She's like, I don't know why you don't have a name badge printed. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know either. I just got here and I bought my ticket in May. Here's my receipt. She's like, yeah, you're on the list. Anyway, they basically, this little weirdo, let me pull him up, this little beta male weirdo, I got bad vibes from him the more that this guy, Daniel Taylor, vice president of campus, this little creeper. Well, it actually gets worse because the more I looked into this organization, I didn't know much about it other than the Ron Paul people. But then my buddy was like, yeah, dude, their president got kicked out, you know, a few months ago for sexual harassment and shit. And I'm like, wait, what? So there's a whole fucking story to this. But this whole organization basically fucked. But the kick-out process, basically, they ended up hunting me down. So I don't know how to explain this exactly. Basically, this dude kept watching the chick trying to find my name badge because security found me too inside eventually without a name badge after I was there for like almost 2 hours. And this dude's like, hey, why don't you have a name badge? I'm like, oh, the chick at the front said it wasn't printed and I could get it later. It's not a big deal. He's like, oh, let's go talk to them. I'm like, all right, this is some security guy just doing his job, right? I don't want to fuck his day up. So we go talk to the registration people, and the chick is like, yeah, I checked them in like a while ago, but there's no name badge. We're going to print them one later. Anyway, this little dork ends up finding me. He gets like more involved, and he has like a higher level position than the registration chick. And he basically, I don't know, I got a bad vibe out of him. And he's like, hey, like, what's your name? Da 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 da. I'm like, Anthony Johnson. You know, I'm here. I applied for a press pass, but I bought a regular ticket as well. And I could see him typing stuff up on his laptop, and he's like looking and looking. And then he closes his laptop. He's like, hey, let me go see if I can print one out for you in the back, and I'll come find you and stuff. And it felt kind of weird, but I was like, well, whatever. Like, at this point, I'm like not thinking too much about it. I'm like, I have a ticket to this event. I'm not bothering anyone. I'm just walking around like anyone else enjoying this event. Anyway, this dude comes outside later. They're having like this after party outside on the grass. There's like 500 people at it. And they're giving away like free ice cream and shit. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get some ice cream. So I'm going up to get this ice cream, right? It's Haagen-Dazs shit. It's pretty nice. And this kid comes, he basically walks up to me pretty fast. And I hadn't seen him at that point like a half hour. And I figured I'd just get my ticket or my name badge like on Friday morning, right? And so he's like, hey, man, we can get your name badge printed. I figured it all out. I'm like, oh, cool. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to miss my ice cream now. I'm like, whatever. He's like, yeah, let's go get it. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, it's getting late anyway. So this dude just bullshits me to my face, right? I'm like, all right, let's go get my name badge. That way I can stop fucking with these people. We walk away like 100 feet. He's like, hey, man, actually, you know, you have to leave the event. Your ticket was revoked a while ago. I'm like, excuse me? Did you just bullshit me to my face in the ice cream line?
You just ice cream block me, sir.
I want my fucking ice cream, man. I'm
ice cream.
I'm fucking hungry, actually. I didn't have dinner yet at that point. I was like starving. I wanted my fucking ice cream. So this dude, though, it pisses me off when anyone lies to my face. I'm like, did you just lie to my fucking face? And he's like, well, I didn't want to cause a scene. I'm like, okay. I'm like, see, you revoked my ticket. What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, you know, your online brand doesn't fit our event. And also, too, my emails. I used to get automated emails from these people and text messages for the event. And so did my buddies who were going to the event. And like a month ago, they stopped. But again, I didn't think anything about it because they have 1,000 people attending. What the fuck do I care about automated emails? Like, hey, the event's coming up soon, right? I have a ticket. I run events. I know how crazy it can get. So I didn't really care. But it actually lined up with what he said. He's like, yeah, they revoked your ticket. It was revoked a while ago. You know, your online brand doesn't fit our event. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I get media passes and, you know, special treatment when I go to other events like Turning Point, CPAC. They don't have a problem with me. And then I was like, I've been a Ron Paul fan for 10 years. I've been to plenty of Campaign for Liberty events. They don't bother me. And he just kept going and going. Then he tried to like shake my hand. He's like, yeah, man, you just got to go. We can give you a refund. I'm like, fuck you, dude. I'm not shaking your fucking hand. So that was about the end of that. Although I approached him again about 10 minutes later because I didn't leave yet. I was at my buddy's stall. I was like, I want that fucking ice cream. I didn't end up actually getting it. I ended up leaving. So I went up to go talk to him again. It's kind of the same conversation, but I wanted someone there to witness more closely like what this guy was saying.
You should have videotaped it.
I normally would, dude. That's the thing, is I normally have the camera at these events. I film like trailers and interviews.
That could have been like a viral video right there.
Yeah, and I've thought about going back. Even today, I might go. Still, we'll see. And just, you know, with a bullhorn or something and fucking with these people. They really piss me off. But I'm gonna do other stuff instead and really tick them off. But anyway, so they ended up kicking me out. And what pissed me off is that they did it a while ago and never told me. I even said, like, yeah, I applied for a press pass. He's like, yeah, that was rejected. I'm like, you didn't tell me. He's like, yeah, we revoked your ticket like over a month ago. I'm like, you didn't tell me. And there is no email record of them doing any of this, right? The emails just stopped all of a sudden, and apparently that means I'm kicked out. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? So yeah, it pissed me off pretty bad. And this guy is definitely a little creeper weirdo. What's interesting is they call it Yao too. These where is it? The founder, the leader of this organization, you know, since like a long time, many years, he was removed for basically Me Too stuff a few months ago. Which normally I wouldn't believe, right? You just kind of ignore that shit because it's bullshit half the time anyway. Because feminists are fucking crazy and, you know, all this stupid stuff. But I looked into it actually, and it's pretty bad. And this guy's definitely like, if you look at pictures of him, definitely kind of a beta male. Anyway, the vibe I get is this organization is basically very feminist. And a lot of these conservative events are feminist, but they tend to have like more common sense to not boot out a YouTuber who has a lot of college age men, like 300,000 that follow him. Like, this is stupid of them to do this. So yeah, it pissed me off pretty bad. And I sent them a pretty nasty fucking email, and I'm posting about it, and it's pissing all these. I think it's going to piss them off pretty bad. Like, their YouTube channel is tiny. It has like 10,000 subscribers. They have a big audience on Facebook, but I'm gonna keep blasting them and fucking with them for a while. And I've had some pictures I showed too of this is me at their events back in the day. This is me at the Campaign for Liberty event in 2011. I got to meet Ron Paul on his birthday. This is the campaign manager for Ron Paul in 2012, Jesse Benton. I actually had Ron Paul sign my copy of the Declaration of Independence Constitution. And I'm actually going to see if I can get Ron Paul, you know, aware of this at some point. Like, the fact that they're canceling his supporters, having done jack shit to harm their event or do any problems at all, is crazy. Like, he was the original cancel culture guy. Like, he was the first guy canceled, I think, in modern, you know, woke cancel culture crap from the media anyway, at least. I used to donate money to him too, man, all the time. Like all his money bombs he had and all this shit. I think if he knew about this, if these people were having events in his fucking name, you know, Revolution 2021, let the revolution begin. These are literally quotes from Ron Paul they used to like market their event. This is really aggravating. So I'm going to see what I can do to keep be a thorn in their side and wake people up. There's a lot of nasty comments people put, and I'm happy to see it about the organization and stuff. So I'm going to be a thorn in the side and cause them a huge headache and expose them. Like, this organization should be aggressively anti-cancel culture, like 100%. Whether it's Ron Paul, Rand Paul, Donald Trump, anybody that they want to support, or any other, you know, lower tier politicians and elected officials. Like, this is a big fucking problem in politics. Never mind what we face in business, right? And these people canceling, you know, supporters and stuff, it's just fucking retarded. I've never seen anything like that. And particularly, too, for like a libertarian event, it's like really shocking, you know? Like, I thought maybe a Turning Point would kick me out or something like that because they're very beta male-ish and stuff. But no, it turns out these libertarian fucking losers do it. They cancel people, man, and then pretend that they're all for freedom and American values and free speech. It's all bullshit. And then so what's interesting is the organization was accused of covering up for this guy, which is why I was tweeting about this little weirdo. Because this to me looks like a guy who could be like a cover-up guy. I don't know if he did or not. I don't know. The allegations are pretty wide-ranging. I haven't done huge research on it yet, but this is the kind of bullshit, this feminist bullshit. They don't like people who criticize feminism. They kick them out of their event. It's all fucking Vichy mail garbage. Anyway, I'm gonna stop
John, if you
ranting
had to
now.
guess, what's that guy's leg count?
Like 1 or 0. Yeah. And not because for some
Zero?
not some Christian, chaste reason to obey God or something. Because he's a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I went to this conference in Hollywood Hills like 4 or 5 years ago, and I saw Nick Coe on the attendance list, and it was like a 50-person like kind of small mastermind type thing. Nick Coe is RSD Papa, and sure enough, I got there like a day early with my old business partner, and we're like hanging out with the organizers, the guys that made Dollar Beard Club or whatever, and they're like, we all got along, we're all like bonding, all this shit, and the next day they're like, hey, this Nick Coe guy says that you should be kicked out of the conference because you're a rapist. And I was like, never been accused or charged with rape ever. And so basically like they had like a talk with me and all this stuff, and they're like, yeah, that guy's full of shit, so like we can either give you your money back or you can attend and not cause any drama. And then he just took his money back. But they've been throwing that around for a long time. Like they say, oh, don't coach with him, he's a rapist. It's completely fabricated, complete slander. Again, never even been accused or charged.
Dude, with me, I don't even think they have a leg to stand on. Like, I get that my brand on the internet personally is a little edgy, but mostly it's the only thing they could complain about is like, I'm opposed to feminism. I mean, if you did a search on Anthony Johnson, you would just find a lot of make women great again stuff. Like the most controversial things I've done are what? Positive stuff for men, making women great again, and marrying a hooker on accident.
It's probably your memes. I would say that's the most controversial. Is like which again you're protected because it's humor, right? I agree with you, but
with the Sharp Mama and people like that. Yeah. I don't think it was that though. I mean, this guy, they kicked me out a while ago. Obviously, I don't think the guy was bullshitting on that. I think that was real. I think that's why the name badge wasn't printed, and that's why they stopped sending me emails. And it was just somebody's fucking girlfriend. That's what Jack Donovan said about it on Instagram.
Libertarians attract a lot of kind of beta male, gamma male types because it's a way to be above Democrat or Republican. It's a way to always like strike this middle position to be above the fray and not get into conflict and fights. And that's what I've noticed as I've met these guys in real life, that they're not, think of the most masculine libertarians you can. Like it's a short list. You know what I mean? It really is. And you got guys like take Ron, your governor down there in Florida. That guy's got real masculine energy about him. Not macho or anything, but still, like the guy's just like he's got a path, he's on it, he's gonna do it, you're not gonna stop him. It's hard to find that sort of stuff in probably Rand Paul did a pretty good job there for a time. I think he was trying to like create a cross section of libertarianism and republicanism, which I thought was smart, but he fell apart into 2016 election big time. One of the few guys I'd ever given money to. I voted for Ron Paul both in 2008 and 2012 in my state. He said to vote for Chuck Baldwin, so I voted that way. But nonetheless, I think a lot of these guys are very weak, nice guy, beta male, gamma male. Like every time I'm with a libertarian, they want to talk to me about the beauty of privatized roads. And I'm like, man, you guys are such losers. Yeah. But what the crap do I care about privatized roads? You understand where we're at as a society right now? Like we're so far away from privatized roads and parking lots. And so they live in this sort of this pristine little virtual place in their head, and they don't get anything done. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's probably the best criticism of Ron Paul is if you're going to go in, and I love Ron Paul, but in terms of the things he actually accomplished, he mostly just held back insanity as best as he could. But I think it's not surprising to me that they wouldn't want someone like you there, because they don't want real conflict. They want fake conflict. They want conflict that can be managed and controlled. That's what cancel culture is about. So people people that stomp out. So this is something I've learned. There's two types of men that hate conflict. There's those that will avoid it, just never get into it, passive, roll over. Then there's guys that we think actually like conflict because they'll get real intense real quick. But what it is they're scared of it, so they try to stomp it out as quick as they can, like a fire. And there's those of us that can live in these really tense relationships, right? It's like me with some of you guys. Like if we have a conversation, we're going to disagree on some issues very deeply. And I got the sense that neither of us are going to back down, right? But like guys have to learn if they're going to have any ability to build something bigger than themselves to live in that tension. And these sort of people, they don't. They come from homes that were dominated by feminine energy, which is cyclical. It goes up and down, gets a little chaotic. And so what they want is they really want to be able to control things. And so it's not surprising to me that libertarians would draw in those sort of guys that can live in a virtual world where the conflict is frictionless because it's not real.
Well,
I don't know if that makes sense.
This for sure, and that's what you see with it. I mean, the girls who accused this leader of Young Americans for Liberty, who left us a few months ago, they had text messages, they had receipts, man. This wasn't just like random accusations. This guy was trying to, as I understand it, based on the recent article and Fox News and stuff, he was trying to manipulate these girls to bang them, using his position at Yale to bring them up the ranks, Harvey Weinstein style. And that's what I see. Now, I haven't seen evidence of that with this guy, but that's the same vibe I get with this this little fucking gamma male.
How old is that kid?
I don't know, in his 20s or something. He probably 24 or 5. I don't fucking know. Definitely a little dork, though.
I mean, there's a very clear patterns. Usually, 99% of the time, it's always the guys who are like, "Yeah, I'm women positive. I'm a feminist." Those are the guys who usually actually do fucked up shit. It's not like the alpha guys. They don't need to do that. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. And I think basically the anti-feminism stuff that I do is what upset them. Like if they found my Twitter bio, it says pro-patriarchy, anti-feminist. And that should be very welcome theoretically in any kind of libertarian, circle, right? By a long shot, I think, at least old school libertarian. No, I agree with that. I mean, feminism, that's an interesting experience you had. I would think also that libertarians would be all about that. Like I would generally speaking consider myself, like I don't really get too deep into politics. So if I had to pick a party, I would say libertarian. I just believe people should be able to do what they want as long as it doesn't hurt other people.
But the party in America, though, so here's what Michael Foster, I think, was getting at. So I haven't paid attention to the Libertarian Party in a couple of years.
Yeah,
I used to call myself a libertarian years ago. But Ron Paul, in part, was responsible for that. Although Ayn Rand, my other favorite philosopher, was very she hated libertarians, like straight up. I mean, she really, really hated them. She considered them basically intellectual frauds and kind of cowards. And she actually accused them of stealing, even when she was alive, a lot of her ideas and divorcing them from their deeper roots in philosophy. I think she's right. The non-aggression principle that libertarians rail about is a perfect illustration of that. But anyway, yeah, these people, man. So they got really woke though in like 2016 is what I realized. Like Gary Johnson kind of in 2012, he wasn't anywhere near as like woke and crap. But in 2016, it got worse and worse. And then when Trump was in office, libertarians got even more woke. And they used to be the party of legalizing cocaine, heroin, automatic weapons, like hardcore shit. And now they're like cancel culture is what they do. And they're all feminists. And is feminist crap. Like, I really think that they're basically a feminist organization. For whatever reason, they're more woke and more feminist than places like CPAC, which are actually more friendly to these ideas, like feminism, because feminists are almost all Democrats today, right? You would think, at least openly, right?
Yeah.
So places like that are Republican, if they're at least a little bit anti-establishment, they'll be welcome to discussing these issues. How feminism has hurt family, masculinity, the war on men, the future is female, like all this feminist garbage that the Democrats do. They'll at least talk to you about it, and they're not going to get mad at you and kick you out of an event. But these little fucking weirdos that pretend to be for freedom and free speech, no, man, they don't. And it just pisses me off that I really have a lot of respect for Ron Paul. Like, I know he's not perfect, Michael, you're right. But the guy is I called him a founding father. This guy really fucking tried. Didn't succeed, but really gave it a shot and really loves America and loves the Constitution and the founding fathers. Like a lot of stuff that I line up with. And these people that carry on in his name, it sickens me, man. It's really, I think a lot of Ron Paulers back then, they'd be really mad about this too. I had no idea that a Young Americans for Liberty organization with Ron Paul headlining it would kick me or anyone like me out of an event. Like that's just fucking completely, it's just shocking to me. I really, really didn't expect it. You know, Turning Point USA or some other like generic Republican event, maybe. Oh, you're too hardcore or whatever, right? These people, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Yeah, I'm just so disgusted. I'm gonna do a probably expose video on them, just exposing what losers they are.
Just to kind of comment on what you said, it's kind of a little bit of a side tangent, but since we're on this topic, so growing up, like, you know, when I was 18, 20, I would always kind of identify as a Democrat, right? Because I'm pro-environment and all that. But now, like, you know, because the political parties have changed in the last 10 years, you know, drastically. Yeah. And so I got to a point like, okay, like I am pro, you know, protecting the environment. I'm pro not privatizing certain industries like the prison industry or, you know, health industry, right? But at the same time, I'm pro free speech. I'm not for cancel culture. I'm not woke and any of that stuff. So like, I have no party now. Like, there's no one I can vote for who aligns with my values. So like, it's just like, okay, last election, I didn't really vote. Like, I don't like, you know. So it's just like, I think a lot of people are like at a point where they don't have like a party, like, you know, they're kind of like in the middle, but they don't agree with the woke shit. So as a result of that, they turn Republican because like, okay, what do I hate more? Okay, I hate the woke shit more, so I'm gonna vote Republican. But
you're an independent, is what you are.
The other Republican values, and it's just like there's no party that's like that middle ground.
Yeah, politics is crazy. I mean, it really has gotten like. I mean, back when Michael, you're the I think oldest one here. Like being apolitical, you know, not even interested was a thing in the '90s and early 2000s. That's like gone now. Like, and maybe for good reason. But it's like
that's where I'm at right now, personally.
I think people have slowly realized that politics has real consequences to our day-to-day life. There's a sense where like we have not a lot of control at a federal level, and that's why I don't even care at the federal level per se. I care locally in a very deep way. So I was a Democrat theoretically, but my first election I actually voted for
no, I'm just kidding.
I voted for George W. Bush in 2000 when I was 20. Ooh. And then he did the Patriot Act and all that stuff. And that was kind of a moment that moved me towards becoming a libertarian. So I was a libertarian from 2004 until 2020 when I voted for Donald Trump. I didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2016. I thought he was a New York liberal that was just pretending. And then early on as president, I saw him as a real president. I realized I was wrong, that, you know, Trump's not like a deeply principled political thinker, but he loves America. He really does care about the little guy. He hates rich liberal elites, and he was trying to do something, right? He was a bull in a china shop, and that's exactly what you want in Washington. You want the guy just throws wrenches everywhere, and that's why
bullshit bulldozer.
Yeah, and that's why all those FBI, CIA, all those guys, he was screwing up their game. And he was so unpredictable, you never knew what he was going to do because he didn't either, right? But that's what you want in Washington because it's so that was like a real wake-up point for me. But then...
Do you think the election was rigged?
I think there's no way to deny that it was rigged at some level. I think anyone that says it's not, they're delusional. Like the thing is, Joe Biden... I mean, I remember when Trump beat Hillary Clinton, I drank a lot of wine that night because I thought it was hilarious. Because just for her to lose that way. But let's be honest, Hillary Clinton is one of the most corrupt politicians of all time, and everyone hated her. Yep. No one wants to vote in an old hag, connected to just about every ugly controversy you could think, going back to the days of Little Rock, killing, all the killings connected to the Clintons. So it was kind of a perfect storm. She was actually a really bad candidate.
Yep.
Tim Kaine, remember that dude? He's gone already. He's super weak. And Trump was able to pick up old blue dog Democrats who hadn't voted in a long time in those Rust Belt states, and that made a difference. So, but then people like me, who had been libertarians for long, we started to love Trump. We're like, look, he's not perfect, but he is jacking with all the people that we can't stand, right? Like, fine, bring the government to us, stop, whatever. I'm all for that. Well, but the government won't be on. Good.
Dude, right? I switched from libertarian to voting for Trump at the last minute. And I didn't like Gary Johnson, but I was so frustrated with the two-party system. That to me was the biggest thing. And Trump did massive damage to the two-party system. I love it. Absolutely. He actually made a real distinction now between left and right. Before it was all fake, and in many ways it still is.
Yeah,
fake.
The two-party system is nonsense. Like,
and Emily voted for Trump.
A lot of the other advanced countries, they have multi-party system, like New Zealand and all that stuff. They don't fall for this two-party nonsense. But I should kind of comment on what Michael said. So, We're talking about how, like, Biden, like, why would he win? So I actually don't think it has to do with Biden. There's this famous economist who's accurately predicted every election since like the 80s. And he talks about there's 13 factors to determine whether the incumbent is going to win and not. And it has more to do with, like, so I think the big reason why, Biden won is actually because of COVID, because the economy was crashing. So when the economy is going downhill, people want the other person. Again, that's not Trump's fault. I mean, maybe partially, but not, not significantly by any stretch. So I think it has much more to do with that. So if that wasn't the case, if the economic factors were different, then Trump very well could have re-won the election.
I think what you're saying is definitely an attribute. I wouldn't want to downplay it. However, when we dive into some counties and look at the changes in voters, it's just there's no way to explain it. There's like no logic to it. Like if you look at all previous elections for some of these counties that went so high Trump or and there's just things that the numbers don't add up. So we know there was like some level of fraud. Was it enough to turn the election? You're right. The pandemic has been such a crap show politically. And it was, Trump was trying to figure out exactly what was going on. I don't think the pandemic actually was this great reset planned out. I think they took advantage of the pandemic to do the great reset, and now that's what they're trying to do. Like they've been thinking about this stuff.
Where did this pandemic come from, though? I mean, you got to be kidding me. This is all like communist China crap. As far
well,
as
it came from China, but if you remember, just go back to April, and Democrats and Republicans were both trying to figure out how to politically play it. Or you go back to the vaccine, they're trying to figure out how to play it, and that's what made me think like, okay, aspects of this have been planned out. Other aspects of this, folks are trying to decide: am I for the way Trump's doing it or against it? Right? And early on, I just remember late March, early April of that year, it was like the narrative was switching every day, and then it kind of got locked. And it's super weird. Like now they're all about the vaccine. That Trump did that. Right now they don't, and even how they play the vaccine is really interesting. The political implications of it, and that shows me. Go ahead.
I think this Time magazine article that came out. This is big when it came out a few months ago. They basically just admit to not necessarily fraud, obviously, but the fix was in like 1,000 different ways. Like I mean, Trump, in some ways inspired this, right? All this antagonism. I love it, but they planned this out to win no matter what it took, I think. And I'll let people read through the lines on that. Whatever it was going to take to get him out, be damned any kind of rules, laws, Constitution, changing stuff, governors changing stuff, Secretary of State.
Deep State's real. There's no doubt. The FBI it was against them. The media was against them. There was a huge narrative across all those different verticals that led to it. And that article was mind-blowing. The article was like...
Yeah, this is amazing.
So leading up, this is what everyone was saying leading up to the election. And everyone was like, oh, no, that's a conspiracy theory. And then it's weird how they just had to tell everybody. It was like they're bragging, right?
Yeah, that's all it is. They're bragging. It's Duper's delight. Yeah. In psychology, it's called Duper's delight. And this is what cluster B, clusterfucks, psychopaths, and sociopaths do. When they trick you, they have to rub it in your face and do so kind of slyly. They can't not do it. It's like it's impulsive for them to rub it in your face.
It's like the Zodiac killer sending letters to taunt the police.
Yeah.
Just to kind of comment on this, like for example, me personally, I was never a Trump supporter, but I was never a Trump hater either. I was like kind of looked at him objectively. Okay, this I like, this I don't like. I find that there's just like this: either you have to love Trump and love everything about him, or you have to hate him, and there's no in between. But as the pandemic started happening, I found myself more and more agreeing with Trump. Like, for example, the Democrats were all about closing everything down. I was against it. I was like, yo, let's keep shit open.
Brazil, so we don't care about you.
Trump was about, like, hey, let's, actually hold China accountable because they did this to us. And then Democrats were about, like, no, that's racist. Well, like, yeah, they actually did really fuck up. So let's hold them accountable. And then, like, other things with, like, the vaccine, like, Trump was like, hey, like, we're not going to, require you to get the vaccine. If you don't want to do it, then that's fine. I'm, like, all about that. Like, you should have the right to decide whether you're going to get a vaccine or not. Like, me personally, I'm not going to get the vaccine. Like, I'm healthy, and to me, the cons outweigh the pros. I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any stretch, but I find the Democrats, like, their strategies, if you don't want to get the vaccine, they shame you. You're an anti-vaxxer. Yeah. No, I'm not. I would get a vaccine.
I think a lot of America is like you right now, Alex. Like I'm different, but I think a lot of America is like independents like you, and yeah, you're very frustrated. I don't blame you. Everything's just fucked today. It's amazing.
I mean, I wouldn't really even say I'm frustrated. It's just like, it's like pointing out like the hypocrisy of the system. So that's why like I became fairly apolitical, because like, all right, either one of these parties is like at all like, you know, what I want. They're both like, I can't.
That's what I mean, though. That's what I mean
at this point.
That's what I mean with frustration, though. Like, you don't have an outlet to exert your political views, so you're just like, fuck it. Like, I don't even want to deal with this.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So I did want to back up here a little bit more on cancel culture. We went through like what each of us has been through with cancel culture, and I've been through more than what I showed. This is the recent thing. Make Women Great Again, obviously last year, the feminists tried to cancel it. They tried all fucking year. They tried finding the venue. They even called the venue at the last minute when they found it, like 3 days before the event. But of course they failed because I'm awesome and they're a bunch of losers. But I did want to talk more about feminism. Like, what do you guys think about feminism and how it's affected cancel culture? Because in a lot of ways, that's what we end up facing, right? I think that's what I think strongly that's what I faced in some way, shape, or form with this YAL event. It wasn't some hardcore anti-feminist who was like, "Fuck this guy, he's too hardcore anti."
Let me give a quick input here. So like, what I faced from that bullshit arrest that I had in 2013. I won't go into the whole story, but basically there was a stupid arrest in Vegas. There was no trial, no conviction, and the feminist reporter that RSD sent my way. For the record, wrote 2 articles. One said, here's 2 guys that shot up schools and killed themselves. Here's a 3rd guy that was accused of alleged kidnapping in Vegas. These 3 people are the same because they all posted on the same pickup artist website, RSD Nation. So the title of the article was School Shooters and Psychopaths Hiding on Pickup Artist Website. People that read that article thought, oh, you're the same as a school shooter. I had girls that I'd known for months. Oh, I'm lucky I didn't die in your arms after they were reading that. And then the second article was basically like, without saying it explicitly, heavily implying to an extreme degree that I was a rapist. And that's where a lot of this bullshit talk comes from. I've never been accused or charged with rape. That's public record, not even once. And I'm public about the lake on 1,384 girls, never once been accused of rape or charged with rape. But that article heavily implied that, and she baited me on a phone interview. Because I thought she was just going to do another hit piece like the first article and said, I'll allow you to give your inputs. And I said, here's all the details on my side in the case. It's overwhelming. And she didn't publish any of that. Yep. And instead, she was like, do you see how this could be looked at as rapey? And I said, yes, I do. But when you know all the facts, it's like all on my side. And then she just made that the headline of the thing, like basically, so it looked like a rape situation. So people walked away from that article, the feminist article, thinking not only was there a rape charge, but there was a rape conviction, and none of that is true.
Yeah, so this is all fake news. This is how fake news works, man. They carefully edit and cut what you say over email or phone or whatever, and they fuck you like hard as they can. They're super. Yeah. They're all like this.
And that was just feminist driven. So like when I had stuff written about me in Poland, when I lived in Poland a few years ago, it was like overwhelmingly positive. The girl went undercover to go on a date with me, ended up becoming part of my rotation, fell in love with me. Alex actually met her, fell in love with me. And then, she wrote an overwhelmingly positive thing. She was like, I was girl number 920. She had her picture and her name associated with the article. She's like, I tried to throw him off by like not kissing him, not saying to go home. He was totally cool about it. We went and played pool, like all this shit. And it was like super, super, super positive. I'm like, why the fuck don't I have any articles like that in the US? It's because they have an agenda, and the reporters, when they go after you in the U.S., they're just trying to make you look as bad as possible.
Women in Poland too are a lot healthier, man. Like I've spent a month there in 2019 for our event, and I loved it. I spent time in Warsaw, Krakow, like all that. I just enjoyed it so much, man. People there are like not crazy like in America.
That's because like they don't get on birth control unless there's only like very specific situations. I think like only if they're in a relationship or something like that. And they're with the food and stuff, like GMOs are outlawed. There's a lot more like quality control on the hormones and stuff.
The food's amazing. The food's just amazing too, man. I had so much fucking delicious food in Poland. It was crazy. Their breakfast buffets are the most amazing breakfast buffets I have seen anywhere in the world by far.
Yeah. I think you were living there the same time I was, but I ended up staying. We were both there for conferences. I stayed for about a year and 3 months. That was one of my favorite places next to Brazil.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is like the difference between the reporting, the one painted me out ultra positive, and the one was just like trying to smear me as much as possible. And that's haunted me for years. I lost my last tech job over that. Hewlett Packard fired me over that article. any girls that have read that stuff think that I'm on the level of a rapist and a school shooter. And I talked to the top defamation attorney in New York, and he said you'd probably have a 20 or 30% chance of winning because it's all just very carefully written. She just says alleged this, alleged that, takes stuff out of context from the quotes in the phone interview.
Yep.
But the problem is like the sting. I heavily researched defamation law, and I have a defamation case going against Modern Life Dating right now. Yep. And it's all about like the sting of what people take away from it. The fact of the matter remains is that when people read those articles, they think I'm on the level of a school shooter. They think I'm the same, and they think that I'm like capable of harming people the way school shooters
you
would.
You probably have to show intent to do harm to you, is what your lawyers are probably trying to do. Like they're editing it in a way to actually do real financial harm to you in your life. And reputational harm, emotional harm, whatever. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I want to switch gears. I want to go to Michael actually in this. So, Michael, earlier you were talking about how men and women are different, number one, but particularly with regard to gossip and stuff like that. Do you see the influence of feminism in American culture as a driving force behind modern day cancel culture? Do you see a connection?
Absolutely. So, in 1 Timothy chapter 5, Paul is giving instructions to a young pastor, and their church, for whatever reason, has a lot of widows in it. So these are women who have been married and their husbands died. And he says this. He says, at the same time, this is the young widows. So these are women below 60. At the same time, they also learn to be idle as they go around from house to house, not merely idle, but also they become gossips and busybodies, talking about things not proper to mention. Therefore, I want younger widows to get married, have children, manage their house, and give the enemy no opportunity for reproach, for some have already turned away to follow Satan. You know, you want to talk about based, right? Paul just lays it out there. He's like, look, these women have too much time on their hands. These women, if they don't get married, they're going to get pulled into just wasting time, bouncing from house to house. I mean, they basically become wine mamas, right, with their cats. And now they can go to house just buy online. I meet all these women that tell me they have Facebook ministries where they're helping other women that are in abused relationships. Like, how do you know?
Like your patriarchal wife. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like, how do you know? How do you know? Like, every time someone calls me, I asked people online the other day, like, what's the best marriage that you'd want to emulate in the manosphere? And people were like, Rolo. And I was like, well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I pointed out to them, I was like, have you seen Rolo and his wife interact? Well, I haven't. Okay, well, what marriage? Well, we don't know any of them.
I have, by the way.
I know you have, but these guys on Twitter, they haven't. And I'm like, you guys don't know nothing about nothing, right? You just go ahead.
Can you show that Rolo pic I texted you? That was a gem somebody sent me.
When did you send it? I'll pull it up.
During this talk here.
While you get to it, I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
And then, but so what I think's happened is that these women love outrage and drama, and they want to find something to be mad about, something to talk about, to gossip about, to make a big deal. And I have a lot of people, hey, have you heard about this latest controversy? No, I'm busy. I'm doing real things. You know, I don't read. I read the news like once a week, maybe, you know, because it doesn't matter. It's all the same crap. And I certainly don't know what's going on in the world of pop culture unless it gets really big on Twitter and a bunch of people tweet it. I don't follow. But these women, they love this stuff. They love controversy. And so cancel culture is outrage culture. And women love to be offended. And so I do think that's a big part of it, is that like they're posturing themselves as a nurturer and protector by protecting people from harm, right? But that energy should be pushed into keeping the home and protecting your own children, right? Mm-hmm. And in the ministry, you run into this with older women, especially if they're widows or they single their whole life, old spinsters. You recognize that there's no way you can help them because you'll spend like 3 hours with them, like some woman in her 70s. You'll just spend there and you'll listen to all her stories, right? And then she calls you, wants you to come back the next day, the next day, and the next day, and the next day. I don't have time for that, right? Like I feel it, but that energy should be that her grandkids should be there, right? Her kids should be there, but she didn't have any. And so the church, this is the big problem. These women, when they move into their 50s and 60s, like these millennial women are going to be a freaking wreck. It's a real problem we're heading towards. And they're just going to sit at home, you know, their 600-pound life and on the internet and just like rage and rage. So I think there's a definite connection. I don't think that's all there is to it. I think just the sort of, you read the books like The Coddling of the American Mind. That's part of it. The idea of catastrophizing words as violence, all that sort of Marxist nonsense is part of it. But the thing that's made it spread so quick is that there's all these women that have nothing to do. They're busybodies, because guys will only get involved in that if it makes money or gets them sex, right?
Well,
That's
I think also what comes to mind is that feminism is also emasculated men. It doesn't just affect women, right?
That's
And
right.
I think by emasculating men, that is also enabled and allowed so much of this to get out of control.
That's
Not
right.
just the past 10 years or whatever. It's been going for decades, getting worse and worse. It started what in the late 80s, early 90s, PC culture, right? Is it politically
Definitely.
correct? Politically correct.
It was the iteration of like, it's what happened after third wave feminism. It just wrecked it, and then it spread through the internet, like a virus, right? It was crazy how quick it spread. Men are jacked up these days, and men act like women a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I posted something like, this guy I saw. Hey, this guy, I'm watching a guy have a meltdown online right now. The who doesn't matter. The main thing is don't change your positions back and forth so quick, and don't talk about it online. Something like that. And then I said, don't ask me who. And then this guy like messaged me right away and says, who? And it's because they don't really care about the principle. They just want the gossip. And I'm like, man, you're like a chick. You know, you're like paparazzi, man. Like, why do you even care about this stuff? And so, you know, men are building things. We're not here. We're not entertained. We don't watch The Bachelor, right? Like a certain guy, a certain manosphere guy, maybe that guy.
By the way, this is a bad marriage to emulate in the manosphere. The fraudulent life in shady times. They are the manosphere's most talked about couple, but their marriage is a disaster. Definitely going to end in divorce, grape, and definitely a shit show. Anyway.
Well, I don't know who shared it. I think it was in a chat group I was in, but that he was actually giving live commentary to the new why streaming The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. And I was like, what in the world?
His wife makes him watch it. His wife runs his ass. His balls are in her purse, and I mean that. Like, she is the business manager. She is the boss. She's the dominant. I don't know if she's like pegging him or anything like that, but it really is that bad. She runs him, and it's the opposite of marriages in the manosphere that are run well, like these people, including, of course, Michael Foster. Now, I haven't met Michael Foster's wife yet, but I strongly suspect that you guys do have a really healthy marriage, very much like Tanner and McKaylee do, who I have seen operate over the years, and including recently with their family in Utah. And I really wish, I've said this for a long time, that you guys have awesome marriages, and like people need to look to you guys for what to emulate. Even if guys want dating advice, like, I mean, we're not going to bring Alex and John into it, but just in terms of like the red pill manosphere, I mean, these losers that give dating advice, it's just totally retarded. Like, they have no idea. Like, Mike, you haven't had a same that you're not into same that lays, obviously, but you could probably wing it off the top of your head with advice, because you actually understand women. You understand your wife, and you're like masculine. Like, these guys are just fraudulent fucking losers. I hate it.
And most of them only have short-term sexual strategies, not long-term, right? Like, there's principles that
people take advice from this guy on how to pick up women at a bar. Like, are you kidding me? Look at this.
Who is that guy?
That's Rollo.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's that bad.
What the fuck is he doing?
I mean, this is a meme, but that's a real picture of Rollo, Ronald McDonald style. Yeah. Here's me and Rollo at my house in the same exact spot years ago. He's so cool. He's gonna look at the camera. What a cool guy. Anyway, we'll probably wrap up soon. This has been a good show, guys.
Can you show his old rock star picture?
I have it on the phone. I've seen it before, though. The other guys have covered it. Yeah, there's way worse of Rollo. I mean, it gets really bad, man, out there. I don't know if he scared Michael Foster off or something. Oh, he's going to the bathroom. Yeah. This has been a fun show, guys. Cancel culture is retarded. It sucks you lost your Instagram, Alex. Maybe get it back. Maybe make a new one. You know, do it.
Yeah, hopefully we get it back. Still keeping my fingers crossed.
Well, one other last point to make is that it's stupid that it's so easy for these platforms to cancel people based on targeted mass reporting over just people trying to like take someone down. Like, literally, these people all have minions, and they can just sick them on you, and then you lose your part of your business. How is that okay?
Yep.
What do you guys do when you think? So here's what I've done in the past when I knew I was about to get shut down. I locked down certain aspects of my social media and just ride it out and come back.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it's been pretty hard for them to accomplish it. Now, if they sneak attack you, but sometimes it's usually you say something that's the grounds for them to get the mob after you.
So here's the mistake I made. When I was starting getting hate messages and shit, I tried to logically debate them. What I should have done is just mass block. So anyone who's hating, I should have mass blocked. That's literally the amount of
immediately.
That's what I should have done. But
I do that.
I was
on
like,
Twitter.
you know what? Like these guys have no point. Like I'm clearly in the right here, so I'm gonna just like
instant block.
logically debate them in a respectful manner.
On Twitter, it's called #instablock. You just instablock anybody. That's what I do. I got it from James Woods. So recently, for some reason, there's been a lot of feminists and a lot of trans people on Twitter coming at me like hard past like probably 2 weeks. I probably blocked 500 people because the minute I see them bitch at me, I just instantly block them. Why? Because they might try to report me, and if I block them, they can't report my tweets. Right? It becomes way harder to report them.
I preemptive block sometimes, right? Like if I realize this person's kind of in my circle, and I look at them and I'm like, oh, this is not going to go well, just block them.
Yeah.
And I think you have to decide what you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to get a signal boost and get your message out there and find like-minded people? But the people like that are your opponents, and I'm trying to encourage people that are already moving my direction and bring them further. Right. Trying to convert the other ones. That's first off, who has the time to do that on social media? I don't have, people want to like have these really complicated conversations on Twitter. You're like, how?
Yeah.
Oh no, who's got time for that? It's hard enough to understand the threaded comments. A lot of times it's easy to get lost, but I do block right away. And only small accounts get offended by that. But once you get above a couple thousand on Twitter, you're like, no, there's no way. I'm blocking everybody if I smell trouble, you're gone and I'm on, because I want to enjoy my time on social media. So
and
can you do that on YouTube though? Can you just block people on YouTube? I don't even know how it works.
You can.
You can.
Yeah, I ban people. It's more like banning, really.
Yeah,
they get kind of shadow banned. They don't realize that they're banned. But
you have to go through YouTube Studio and do hide user from channel.
Yeah, hide user. Yeah. But the issue is they can still report you. On Twitter, it's different because when you block them, they can't even report your tweets anymore. They can't even see them. They can log out or go to a different account. So
to kind of comment on the reporting thing, like I grew up in Russia, and like there you're taught like like being a snitch is really lame. Like reporting people is really lame. Like you're just really heavily like looked down upon if you're like the telltale. And that's like what I grew up with. And just like to me, like reporting is like so lame. Even if someone's doing like I don't report anybody. Like I just find that really lame.
Yeah, I get it, man. I mean, especially if you came from Russia with former Soviet Union, like holy shit, getting reported there would be potentially really dangerous. But yeah, for sure. I mean, we were kids too, even in the 90s. Snitches get stitches and shit, and it was looked down on, tattletale. But that culture's gone. It's all participation trophies now, and like all this stupid bullshit that Zoomers do. By the way, man, Zoomers. People think Zoomers are going to save us, and man, like I used to kind of believe that a couple years ago. You kind of buy into this narrative that they're super based, and some of them are, right? Like any other generation, you have a segment that are like really based, really cool, right? The savage little kids trying to do good in the world. But man, that has been completely dispelled for me recently. The experience at Yale is an example of that, but also Turning Point, these other political events. You meet a lot of these kids, and a lot of them are just like super woke and like, they're LARPing that they're not woke, right? But really, they're all just like wannabe influencers. They have no ideas. They're socially retarded. They've grown up on phones. Like it's bad, man. Yeah. Any. I know it's kind of a tangent, but any wishful thinking that Zoomers are going to save the day is like delusional. Like not going to happen. Michael, I thought maybe you'd have some thoughts on that, but
I think what you said is right. I think there is a segment of them that, so like you don't look at ads. We don't. Those of us that grew up, we don't look at ads on the side of a Google search. All those cheap ads. We just don't look at them. And so those that grew up with some of this crap, they've learned to not even look at it. It doesn't register with them. And I've noticed a lot of these younger people until TikTok's taken off with the younger people. But until TikTok, a lot of these guys that would say 20 and down weren't almost on social media at all. They'd have maybe a small Instagram account. But it was pretty amazing to see how few of them were on social media, and if they were, not very active. It was very encouraging to me because I think social media is kind of a net negative for the moment. You know, I'm not against it. I obviously use it, but I am finding a lot of guys that are very promising, but they still need guides. I kind of think the younger Gen X, older millennials, if we're going to talk about the generational hope, are those guys. Because those of us, we've got some gray hair, we've had some success, we've got real networks and connections. Some of us aren't scared. I'm really hard to cancel. First off, to figure out where I work isn't easy. And then I'm friends with everybody there, and it's probably going to come through me when you try to complain anyway, and I'll stop it from happening. And then when it gets to them, they probably don't care either. So guys like me have enough power and influence and connections where I can provide some protection for those people and guide them. You don't really get that a lot of times in life until you get a little bit older and you've been around for a while. And so Zoomers don't have a lot of the resources, and they think they can meme their way. You know, the whole meme war stuff. That's kind of funny, and there's some truth to it. But you watch guys like Bronze Age Pervert. He got canceled this past week.
Oh, really? On Twitter?
He did. They took down his Twitter, man.
Damn, I didn't know that. And
he honestly, if you follow it, there's nothing that's that edgy. It really, I mean, it's a different take. He's basically he's kind of a Nietzschean philosopher with very 4chan like language is what he is. But anyhow, I do think there are those young guys out there, but they need fathers. They need mentors that'll direct them, and guys that can like keep them from falling for the traps, because a lot of these guys get suckered real easy. So so I have some hope, but they're not like the savior. Generationally, I really think you have to have money, influence, connections, and a little bit of wisdom. But it helps to have that youthful energy, right? And that creativity that some of these guys have. And so we've got some of that in our church, not as much as I'd like. But I don't know. That's a mixed answer. Like, they're not the layup that everyone was talking about.
Yeah, I agree. And I also agree, too, with your assessment of older millennials, younger Gen Xers. There is something there to that crossroads of the two. And I don't know. I'm not quite there myself at 32, but I know what you mean. My sister's that age. She's like pushing 38. Not that she's super based or anything, but I know that demographic, though, people like you, Elliot Hulse, stuff like that. No, for real. You know,
Elliot's a great example, right?
Yeah.
Elliot's a great example. That he's a guy that, you know, it was weird at 21, like how close Elliot and I are in the ways our life went. We both married our high school sweetheart. We both, you know, have built a life together, large families, and kind of traditionalists in one flavor or another. Those guys, but also we've been around in the internet culture. We've been around young people. We're not totally disconnected to what's going on. I think we're the ones that can, and we also have an ear, right? We have an ear to them. We're willing to listen to them. The problem with boomers is boomers think everyone's idiots, and anytime they go against their boomer experience, which was a very, very particular set of experiences, right? It clouds their mind. They don't listen to the younger people. And like one reason my podcast took off and all that stuff is that I asked, what if the younger millennials are telling the truth about the world of dating? What if women are really as bad as they say they are? You know, and I was starting to have those thoughts myself as I interacted with these young women. I'm like, dude, this chick is kind of nasty and not very good looking and a terrible attitude, and she thinks all these guys are below her. I don't understand it. Like, I was just trying to compute. Like, I don't remember girls being that way. I can remember girls that weren't very attractive, knowing that they weren't back in high school, and they were happy to be with the big chubby band guy. You know, they got married and they had a happy chubby life, you know, whatever. But now it's like,
that's all over now. That's
all those girls think they're going to marry like Brad Pitt or something. And you're like, or whoever they like, man, you are disconnected from reality. So when I started to listen to them, but also bring some of the wisdom and experience I had to give some answers and take that's what we need. We need the generations, the resources and wisdom to meet the actual issues as they are. And they've changed very rapidly.
Well, that brings up this really cool comment from Crypto Boater. Nice avatar there, buddy. It's like a little monk. What the fuck is that? Anyway, it says, your community is on a real forefront of the culture war. So much boils down to gender relations in the family. I agree with that 1,000%, but it also brings to mind what you've been talking about, Michael. Like, you know, these generations, particularly older millennials and young Gen Xers coming together to do something. Like, I wonder, if anyone has some thoughts on this, open to the panel, but I wonder if the whole manosphere is like an illustration of this, right? A lot. Can
I ask the dating quotes some questions? Let me ask you guys.
Go for it, yeah.
because this would be interesting. The guys that come to you for help, I got two-tiered questions. What are the major categories, like age, background? And secondly, who are the ones that you see the best results with, the best response?
Yeah. I guess I'll go first, but mainly my clients are between the age of 21 and 35, sometimes up to 40. Doesn't rarely goes above 40. Sometimes I do have the 40 to 50 crowd. Mostly it's above it. Usually they're not super young because those ones don't have money. So usually above 21, 22, and then up to 35. The ones who have the best results by far are the guys who already more or less understand women. They're like, maybe they were the jock in high school, maybe they were like they're the socially savvy guy, but they just don't have any good strategy. So they need like external strategies. Oh, this is what picture I should use for Tinder. This is what kind of messaging sequence I should follow. This is what I should do on dates. Those are the guys who get the best results. The guys who really, are hard are the guys who are super socially awkward, the guys who have a lot of inner issues, because you can't solve inner issues in one call. You need, that takes time. Yeah, so those are the ones that are like a bit of a struggle. And I have gotten those guys results. It just doesn't happen overnight. That's why I actually don't really believe in the concept of a boot camp. I like, kind of what John is doing. He's doing like this 6-week mentorship. I even go one step further. I have like a mastermind group where, and for the hard case guys, it takes time for them to get out of their bad inner beliefs.
Yeah, real change is pretty serious. Like it takes real time to work out your issues and shit, for sure. Therapy, even stuff, or just shit happens in your life to make you fight harder. John, what about you with regard to Michael's question, demographics and stuff?
I didn't hear the last part. Demographics with the people we're helping.
What's your if you're going to like broadly describe your main clientele, what sort of demographics, age in particular, generational, do they fall in, and who do you see the best results from?
I get most of my guys good across the board. I don't really care how old they are or anything like that. I just make them focus in on learning the system. But I would say the age range I work with the most would be, what Alex said, 21 to 35, maybe 25 to 35. White collar workers, guys with decent jobs that are socially awkward. But I think everyone needs help with this stuff on a massive scale. Most guys really suck with chicks.
Yep.
But the problem is that, there's a lot of ego in the way. So a guy that's, thinks he's like cool or whatever, it's like cognitive dissonance to go and ask for help with dating. I talked to a lot of guys that have banged like 30 to 50 girls or something like that. They know the basics, but they're still largely pretty shitty with girls. But for them to go and ask somebody for help would mean like admitting they're not good enough or something like that.
I love how blunt John is. He's like, they're still pretty shitty with girls. They bang like 50 chicks, but they still suck.
But dude, I get guys all the time that haven't even been with double digits. And again, it's not all about lay count. They're not very experienced. And they tell me they have the game all figured out. And I say, that's nice. I don't even have it all figured out. And
what also came to mind for me is you have guys coming to you that are probably making $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year, which is good, right? Especially if they're in their 20s, right? Let's say 27 or something like that. But they really do suck with women. And the cognitive dissonance, I have no doubt. I've met guys like that. They can't admit that they're kicking ass in one part of their life and doing really, really terrible in another, and it haunts them like a dark cloud, like following them.
Well, I would say the guys.
Sorry,
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I would say the guys that come to us are actually the guys who more or less have at least somewhat admitted, because the guys who haven't admitted are the guys, they're the majority for sure, but they're the ones who are not going to sign up for coaching because their ego won't let them.
Yeah, they'll barely even watch content. They can't even watch the content, because even that takes an admission that you want to learn something, which means you can improve and you're not perfect and something is wrong. Or
even at my level, like coming up on 1,400 girls, I'm still like with open arms would love to find anybody that can do stuff better than me at any area. Like when Alex came on the scene, I was like hitting him up more than like the newbie guys, and I was at like 700 or 800 girls at that point, and I was like, hey, I think you're doing some of the texting online game stuff better than me. Tell me everything you know, and I'll help you as well. But the mindset of like always being humble and trying to find ways to make your stuff better. And I always open everyone to criticizing my stuff too, because that makes it stronger as well. I think a lot of that comes from studying philosophy and bachelor's and master's degree. Your arguments are only as good as the positions behind them. So instead of being like, this is my system or way of doing things, nobody poke fun at. I actively encourage people to poke holes or show me better ways to do stuff. I wish there was more collaboration in the community to push stuff forward through, you know, split testing and data and stuff like that. I feel like I'm not even in the same category as 99% of these guys because they're not even doing anything practical.
Most of them are just frauds. Most of them are like literal grifters and thieves and scammers and con artists. Like, it's that bad, man. Like, it's been that way since the 2000s at least. Like, it's always been bad, and it just gets worse. I mean, in some ways, I guess it's got a little bit better, but in other ways, it's got worse. That'd be some fence setter on it, but like, it's always been a shit show. And I guess today there's more exposure for it, and now, you know, you see people like me and you going after these frauds sometimes, which is good. You never saw like any of that back in the 2000s. If someone was a total fraud loser with women and was selling ebooks like you know, like clockwork, nobody went out and said this guy's a loser. No one said shit.
Ross Jeffries, I think, did a little bit, right? Way back.
No, Ross Jeffries. That's right. Ross Jeffries. That's right. He tried to get like a seduction watchdog website going, I think, actually, which is pretty cool. But no, it was very minimal, and it was nothing.
The Better Business Bureau.
Yeah, but it's any industry has frauds. I mean, that's never going to
be the
Better
right. Player Bureau.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, but going after, like, I take so much repercussions for it. Like I said, I have like 40 roast videos now or something like that, and you just become public enemy number one. Where, like, I've even seen leaked messages out of the RST camp where they're like, we must take him down, like, direction straight from the top. You know, so that comes with fake reviews, slander videos, you know, just all these like really nasty rumors being pushed everywhere, being called a rapist, you know, just whatever, you name it. And you just take it to the face, and all that like harms the business too. But at the end of the day, all this stuff needs to be said. So whatever.
Yeah.
Next level is figuring not just out how to get that notch count up, but how to actually have good, solid, long-lasting marriages and families.
Well, it's definitely not mutually exclusive whatsoever. I've ran big rotations all the way through. I've had lots of girlfriends or even monogamous girlfriends or main rotation girls. A lot of people think like just because the lay count's high that it's just a bunch of one night stands or a lot of meaningless, empty relationships. It's completely not the case at all. I've had
just
meaningful
to be clear for those that will cut this video out. I know I can already see when I talk about notch count. Get your notch count up with your wife. Yeah, I'm a pastor, so one woman, lots of sex, or lots of women, lots of sex. That's not our speed. One woman, lots. Just saying that to whoever will cut this up, and I'll see it in a video somewhere.
So to kind of comment on that, I've never actually knocked that philosophy, even though it's like pretty different than what I believe. I'm a firm believer in like different strokes for different folks. So like, for example, going back to the city versus rural thing, like I wouldn't really like, you know, say, oh, you know, you're wrong for living in a rural area. Like I just think, okay, like you like rural stuff. That's great. That's probably the right approach for you. Like me personally, I like the city. So again, going back to the whole, like, you know, sleeping around a lot versus getting married, I just think comes down to like, for different personalities, like different things. And then also, it's also a different place in your life. Like maybe in 10 years, I will probably like, you know, settle down. I don't know if I'll ever get married, but I could see myself like settling down and being exclusive monogamous relationship.
So what do you guys think about like a bloodline legacy? Like about pursuing a bloodline legacy, like actually producing.
I personally think that's dumb. Personally. Like when you understand like what makes up a human being, you know, it sounds good in theory, but it doesn't really mean shit to me.
I'm somewhere kind of in between like I don't value it at all, but I'm not completely dismissing it either. I mean, I don't know. Maybe in 10 years I will want to have a kid, but at this point I definitely don't. To
me, like a childbirth is or raising a child. It's like from age like 0 to 3, it's basically the same as an animal, and then it's just relatively stupid and naive, and then it starts to hate you and rebel, and then eventually you reconcile and become friends, and the whole thing's pretty fucking weird, I think.
It doesn't have to go that way. Trust me. Yeah, I've had 8.
This is a big conversation we get into on a future show, guys.
Yeah.
Which we probably should. This is a big debate.
Just a little bit. I get on these PUA guys. You know, I try to. We could have a civil conversation. It's fine. Disagree.
Yeah.
You guys will meet at 21 Summit too in a few months. So it's coming up. Cool. Last word, guys. Make sure to get your tickets to the 21 Summit event. Pick your event. If you're a man, go to 21 Convention. If you're a father, go to Patriarch. If you're a woman, go to 22. I hope to see you there. You'll meet all these guys. You'll meet myself. You'll meet dozens of other speakers, amazing guys, and it's gonna be an amazing time. If you want to go to the best event in the world for men, for fathers, and even for women, this is it. It's also the 15-year anniversary, so I appreciate you coming out. Like a birthday bash, right? 15 years, long time, decade and a half. 20 years will be coming up soon in 5 years, but for now it's 15. And I've been doing it since I was 17 years old, if you guys don't know, if you're new to the show or something like that. So my entire life's journey, building this convention, building this business, building this empire, building these events, which are really, really good. And if you care about awesome things in the world that are really high quality, this is it. You learn how to change your life and do a lot of badass stuff and meet these speakers. And you get to talk to them for free a lot of the time too. Coffee and dinner and shit, drinks, whatever. You'd be surprised how courteous these guys are with their time. If you're nice to them.
How many speakers are there going to be in the 21 convention this year?
Ton.
The main 21 or all of them?
The main one.
I think right now it's like 19. Yeah, it's a lot. Maybe 19 or 20. I got to actually count. I got to make
it 21.
Probably. It's tough though because they're just scheduling, like cramming that many people in, and we also do the Redman Group podcast, which takes up like a time slot. So there's a lot of stuff, man, to map out and plan with it. It's awesome though.
What's the 21? Is it for the 21st century?
No, it's because I started the convention for young men. I was 17 when I started the company, and the event was supposed to be. It was basically in the seduction community, so it's kind of like pickup based, obviously, with a little bit of health and fitness. But it was for guys who were under 21. Because that's what part of the mystery method forum and even fast seduction and stuff that it was for. Remember back in the day, it had the under 21 sections, like 18 to 21.
I was never part of. I know about those forums. I was never part of them, but yeah, I know about those forums. Yeah.
Anyway, so it went from the under 21 meetup to the under 21 convention, and that name just stuck. And that was the official name of it, obviously, once I decided. And then eventually, I cut out the under when I got older because I, became older for 21. So I had a crisis with the name and the branding, but I was like, well, what if I just chop out the under and called it the 21 convention? That's stuck ever since.
How about the Bruno report? Is there going to be a Bruno report at 21 this year?
Yeah, there's going to be a Tony Bruno report. That's right. Tony Bruno is going to be taking over the 21 report. His brother is not available at the event. Currently, he's being sued in court by me and my company as my attorney. Yeah, I don't
Currently he's being sued in court by me and
yeah, fuck around and find out, man. Like you had to violate contracts and do make a lot of bad decisions, It's in court. I'm not going to comment on it too much, but
there's this comedian Anthony Jeselnik. He says, "My whole family all went to jail, all for the same thing. It's very sad. My confession."
And it's all public too. I mean, everyone can go look in the Orange County, Florida court. They can actually watch the lawsuit against George Bruno and Zach Small, like what's going on with it. It's all public record and stuff. And the first hearing is on, I think, August 30th with the judge. So
What are Tony's thoughts? Because I see him on the stream here.
Tony's free to comment for himself. He's a good friend of mine. I'll see him probably tomorrow, actually. And Tony's a supporter of the truth. I'll say that. Tony loves the truth, and he's a real man, and I don't say that jokingly. And he had to make a lot of tough decisions in his life over the past year, I'd say. And I have a lot of respect for that guy. And he's welcome to speak up for himself in the chat or on his own channel too. So, but you'll meet him at 21 Summit. He'll be there doing the Bruno report. We'll call it. All right, guys. I want to end the show. I appreciate everybody's time today.
Cool.
Make sure.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Meet you, Michael.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Make sure you guys subscribe to their channels and Twitter accounts and stuff. I'll put links in the description. You can also search for them anywhere, Twitter, YouTube. Michael Foster from It's Good to Be a Man, John Anthony from John Anthony Lifestyle, and Alex from Playing with Fire. He's on YouTube but not Instagram for now, but we'll see, right? Anyway, guys, see you next week, probably next Saturday. Peace out. Stay strong. Cancel culture is fucking retarded. Goodbye.
All right.